The family is so poor that they compete with the dog for food. But my younger brother ate over 200 catties. He even made his parents sell their blood for meat in order to eat. But his parents not only did not complain at all, but also made for dishes and one soup for him every meal. Just because his parents said he was a rare golden mouse, his body would gradually turn into gold as an adult, and his parents have already bought a hammer and are waiting to smash him. As soon as I got home from chopping wood, I saw a group of children outside the yard. When the children saw the meat, they all drooled and kept sticking their heads towards my house. The woman next door scolded them for being useless, then quickly walked over to me and said, "Girl, just as you left, your younger brother ran to the town to buy meat again. We can't even afford it. Where did he get the money?" Upon hearing this, my heart skipped a beat and instantly cooled down. Our village is the poorest in the country, and coupled with the remote location, we can only rely on farming to make a living. Unfortunately, the harvest has not been good in recent years, and meat has become a luxury item that can only be seen during the Chinese New Year. In such an environment, my younger brother ate more than 200 catties, and he not only demanded for dishes and one soup, but also had to have meat every meal. My family couldn't afford meat, so he stole my mother's dowry to exchange for it. In the end, he even stole money from my father's medical treatment. The villagers say he is worse than pigs and dogs, but his parents spoil him and even want to cut their own flesh to feed him. Now my family has long been emptied by him, and the only money I have is the tuition fees I saved by digging wild vegetables. Could it be that? My head buzzed and I quickly rushed home. Sure enough, my younger brother was in the kitchen like a mouse, eating a plate of braised pork with his mouth full of oil. That meat was in a whole pot, an amount we couldn't eat for several years. What money did you use to buy the meat? He glanced at me, his mouth full of sauce cracked open. He took it from your cabinet and hid it so deep, yet he was still guarding against me. My eyes went black and my emotions collapsed instantly. Do you know that the money is for my school? I've been saving it for a year. As long as it's another year, I can take the college entrance exam. The teacher said that with my grades, I will definitely be able to apply for tuition exemption and maybe even a scholarship. By then, I will be able to completely leave here. What are you arguing about? My younger brother suddenly slammed the table. With such a small amount of money, we can't even afford a month's worth of meat. Is it really necessary? I was so angry that I trembled all over and rushed over to flip the table. But the next second my mother stopped me and dragged me out. Stop making noise. Let your younger brother eat well. Eating is the most important thing. Seeing me crying uncontrollably, she just lowered her voice and said, "Your younger brother won't be an adult for many days. Just hold on a little longer and let him eat more. Your dad has already bought a hammer. If you smash him, the money will be hundreds of times your tuition fee." Upon hearing this, my heart finally eased a little. For so many years, my mother has had a reason to indulge my younger brother in eating, because he said my brother is a once-in-a-century golden mouse. This kind of person has liked to eat non-stop since birth and loves meat the most. On the day of adulthood, every drop from the feet to the head will turn into gold, and even the internal organs and eyeballs will be pure gold. so the whole family wants to fatten it up. After all, the heavier it is, the more gold it has. But no matter how the younger brother eats, his chin is very pointed, and with eyes like mung beans, he really looks like a mouse that has become a spirit. But I feel creepy. When my mother was pregnant for 10 months and my younger brother was born, the whole family wanted to treat him like a treasure. But now he is being treated as a tool, and his life is like grass. What will happen to me, who was already unpopular? I don't care about the money. I just want to escape from here. As my rice bowl was running out, my mother gave me another sum of money. This is the coffin book for me and your father. You can use it to buy fish for your younger brother to eat. I heard that fish meat can make you gain weight, and if you gain a few more catties, it will cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. I looked at the banknotes in my hand, but suddenly had other thoughts in my heart. A bundle of green banknotes was 50 yuan, and my mother gave me 10 bundles, totaling 500 yuan, enough for my tuition for next semester. This is her coffin book. I begged her on the ground before, but she didn't take it out. Even for the sake of turning my younger brother into more gold, I still have a sour feeling in my heart. Wrapped in cloth, quickly put it in the pocket, but I didn't go to the fish stall. Instead, I went around the path to the village behind and handed the money to the principal. When I went back, it was already dark. Before I could think of an excuse, I saw my younger brother standing at the gate of the courtyard, looking out. Before he saw me, I quickly picked up the dirty water from the nearby ditch and poured some on myself before I dared to limp back. I accidentally fell into a ditch while walking on a small path and lost the money my mother gave me to buy fish. I'm sorry, little brother. I'll compensate you when I get the money in the future. I dare not look at him. Just as I was about to walk in with my head down, my arm was grabbed. Sister, did you fall? Losing money is just a small matter. It's just missing a meal of meat. As long as you're okay. I looked up in disbelief, unable to believe he would say such words. My younger brother seemed to have changed his mind and started helping me pick up the mud on my body. He was even shocked when he saw the scrape on my arm. How could it still be bleeding? I'll go find some medicine for you. It's not okay to leave a scar. In an instant, my nose was sour, and I didn't expect that the only person in my family who cared about me was my younger brother. Once I rolled down the hill and broke my head. My mother didn't even look at me. But now the person we plan to kill is actually worried about me like this. I softened a bit and remembered the hammer I just bought in the backyard, and couldn't help but persuade him to run away. Just before I opened my mouth, my younger brother suddenly kicked over the chair in a fit of anger. Where is the medicine? Why is there no medicine at home? I was startled and quickly grabbed him. It's okay. These are just minor injuries and don't matter. Why doesn't it matter? His face changed, and he angrily pushed me away and shouted, "They only want to marry you when you're clean. You have scars on your body, and you'll have to pay less when the time comes. You're already a loss. Now you're messy again. What are you doing alive?" I was pushed to the ground. Looking at his grinning appearance, he looks like a crazy wild boar. What money? What are you talking about? My brother glanced at me and sneered. The second uncle in the east of the village is willing to spend 30,000 to marry you. You can change so much money, so you should be secretly happy. There was a buzzing sound in my ear and I froze in place. The second uncle at the east end of the village is almost 50 years old and wants me to marry him. What's the difference between this and selling me? What concern? It's just to earn more money. Animals are just animals and cannot be changed. I quickly thought in my mind, stumbled to my feet, pulled out a pleasing smile. It's okay. I'll apply some ointment. It won't leave a scar in a few days. Just wait for me. A hint of impatience flashed in my younger brother's eyes, but he was also satisfied with my obedience, so he waved his hand irritably. I only give you 1 week. It's not over yet. Be careful or I'll kill you. I calculated the time, and it happened to be his 18th birthday in a week. It depends on who will die first between the two of us. In the following days, I pretended to be obedient. He even cut my braids and exchanged money to buy meat for my younger brother to eat. However, I added a large amount of medicine to the meat, which was specifically used to fatten pigs. I specifically asked, as long as you control the dosage well, you won't die. In just a few days, my younger brother gained 5 or 6 catties again. My mother was overjoyed and praised me for being enlightened and not learning those useless books. As long as you raise your younger brother well, you can really get rich. They happily hung lanterns at home and lied that they were preparing for his birthday. The day soon arrived. Before dawn, a basin of cold water was poured on my head, and my clothes were soaked through. I could even vaguely see my underwear inside. Without waiting for me to cover my body, my younger brother grabbed my hair and dragged me directly into the yard. You still have the face to sleep since the wound has healed. Hurry up and get married. I'm still waiting to eat meat. Go get the money quickly. He was so strong that he grabbed my clothes without any hesitation, and immediately there was the sound of tearing. Help, Mom. Come and save me. My younger brother is going to sell me. But no matter how much I shout, even seeing my mother getting up in the window, I can't wait for her help. Today is the last day, and neither of them wants to cause trouble. I kicked her leg with all my strength and ran into the house. My younger brother screamed and came to grab me, but in the next second, he suddenly fell to the ground. What happened to my feet? I turned around and saw his feet twisting continuously. After bursting his shoes, his dirty toes were exposed. However, in an instant, the skin on them became golden and hard, even revealing grain-like texture. It's gold, my mom suddenly screamed and rushed out of the house. The legend is true. It really turned into gold. She even lay on the ground and bit my brother's foot. It's really gold. And my younger brother looked at our crazy actions, then looked at his unconscious feet, and completely turned pale. What are you talking about? Gold. What's wrong with my leg? Why don't you take me to the hospital? But the next second, my mom suddenly turned her head and kicked him in the stomach, shouting, "Useless dead pig." My younger brother was kicked, and his whole face was full of shock. From childhood to adulthood, this is the first time my mother has hit him. How dare you hit him? How about hitting you? My mom looked disgusted and spat at him again. He only eats and doesn't work every day. He has long disliked you. If it weren't for seeing you turn into gold, he would have killed you in the cowshed. He turned his head and looked at me, and I held him down. "You go get the hammer. You have to see if this thing can be used first." I turned around and picked up the hammer, aimed it at my younger brother's foot, and then smashed it hard. "No, please don't hit my foot." My brother screamed like crazy, his sharp cheeks and fat body together, looking like a caught mouse. Shouting doesn't hurt. "Aren't you going to sell me? Don't you love to hit me? Why are you begging me for mercy now?" I felt refreshed in my heart and smashed my feet until they shattered into pieces without stopping. My mother pulled me away, carefully picked up the gold nugget into the cloth bag, turned around and walked out. "I'll go out and try to exchange money. You watch her at home." As soon as the courtyard gate closed, my younger brother knelt directly on the ground. He lost his feet. His fat body fell to the ground and cried, "Sis, please let me go. I am your younger brother. We grew up together since childhood. Are you just going to watch me get smashed?" Upon hearing this sentence, I couldn't help but kick it directly. "When you wanted to sell me for meat, why didn't you say I was your sister?" He was kicked in the face, grinned and touched his chin, but suddenly shouted, "What is this? How did I grow a beard?" He looked over and saw several long beards growing on his sharp cheeks, and even his mouth was protruding forward, looking exactly like a mouse. "Stop shouting. Even if I let you go, you will slowly turn into gold. This is your retribution." I grabbed a rag hanging on the toilet and stuffed it into his mouth, then tied his legs. The speed of turning into gold was very fast, and soon his ankles began to solidify. Taking advantage of my mother not coming back, I smashed it hard a few times and gathered the debris together. My younger brother deserved to die, but my mother is not a good person either. She was able to crush my younger brother with her own hands, but who knows how much sincerity she has towards me. Once I save some money, I'll escape from here. The younger brother cried not long ago and passed out due to lack of oxygen. I hid the collected gold and saw my mother's surprised face soon as I came out. The gold is real, and our family is going to make a fortune. He asked me to lock my younger brother in the woodshed and bought a lot of pig feet to gain weight, hoping to eat a little more while he was still alive. Even in order to make his belly bigger, he did not allow his younger brother to defecate. A few days later, the younger brother lost his human form, crawling on the ground, unable to walk, his body swollen, almost exploding, and his cheeks became inverted triangles. At the same time, my family moved to a bigger house. My mother bought various luxury furniture, and the refrigerator was filled with various meats and fruits. Soon, my younger brother solidified and only had his head left, and we finally unlocked the shackles in his mouth. Looking at his lifeless body, I sighed softly and couldn't help but show a hint of reluctance. "I'm sorry, little brother, blame you for being a golden mouse." However, when he heard this sentence, his expression suddenly changed, and he spat out all the food in his mouth. "What did you say? You said I was a golden mouse. Have you heard this legend?" I was slightly surprised and disgusted. I tied him up again. "It's good to know. No wonder others. You can go on your way with peace of mind." His neck couldn't move, but his eyes suddenly looked at me. "No, golden mice have always appeared in pairs, so..." However, before the words were finished, the golden light began to spread upward and instantly sealed his mouth. "What did you say? So what?" However, he had no chance to answer, and his eyes, which looked at me in despair, slowly turned into gold. A loud scream suddenly came from his big mouth, and then a mouse crawled out. I took a few steps back in shock, just as I was about to see clearly. A pair of big feet suddenly stepped down, and the next second the mouse turned into a puddle of minced meat. My mother held a hammer and rubbed her feet on the ground with disgust, saying that the dead mouse should not bite my gold. My words choked in my mouth, and I couldn't help feeling nauseous. In a few seconds, she smashed my brother. Those gold nuggets were locked in the box, leaving nothing for me, as if they noticed my gaze. My mom quickly took my hand and said, "Girl, save this money for now. Don't you want to go to school? When I buy a house in the city, I will send you to school and even let you study abroad." It seems that she was afraid that I wouldn't believe her, so she turned around and took out a small piece of gold and handed it to me. "Your school needs to pay next month's tuition, right? Take this and go to town to buy some books." I'm a little surprised. This is the first time my mom has supported me to study. Is my life really going to get better? In the following days, my mother indeed began to look for a house in the city, and she also began to feel sad. I didn't have to do the chopping and cooking work, and she would buy a lot of big fish and meat to cook for me, saying that she would not give me double what she had given to her younger brother for so many years. Considering that there was only one semester left in the third year of high school, I stayed temporarily. In just a few weeks, I gained several laps of weight, and even my colleagues at school were surprised to see me. I'm no longer the spider spirit I used to be. But why isn't your face fat? Instead, your chin is pointed. Several girls came over one after another. Yes, I really envy you. Every time I gain weight, I put on my face first. They were talking when suddenly a boy pointed at me and laughed. Have you noticed that he looks a lot like that internet celebrity onesie? Everyone laughed when they heard it. Someone borrowed the teacher's phone and showed me a photo. Look at your faces, they look like mice. Just hearing these two words, my stomach suddenly churned, turned around and rushed to the glass facing my face. I don't know when it started, but my face has become so thin, and my eyes seem to have become a little smaller. This appearance looks a bit like my younger brother. This thought made me shudder, and I didn't have time to ask the teacher for leave. I rushed out of the school gate and ran back home in one breath. There is a fragrance in the yard. My mother is cooking. Before I could enter, a tricycle stopped at the door. My mother wiped her hands and hurriedly ran out, carrying a few bags of things down from it. At the moment I saw the packaging, I suddenly covered my mouth. It was the kind of medicine I had given to my younger brother. The man carrying the things glanced inside and couldn't help but ask, "Didn't you just send a few bags before? Why are they gone so quickly? Did you not see your family raising pigs?" My mom joked and stuffed some money into that person's hand to buy it for someone else. Don't ask. When the man saw the money, he immediately shut up and turned around to leave. I sat behind the wall, sweating profusely. My dad died a long time ago. There are only my mom and me at home. Why did he buy so many weight gain pills? He can only give them to me. No wonder I have gained a lot of weight recently. But why does he feed me so much? I suddenly remembered the sentence my brother said before he died. In pairs, a terrifying thought appeared in my mind. Am I also a golden mouse? I squatted in the corner until it got dark, and when I went back, my mother had already prepared the meal. A scene that used to make me feel happy now gives me the creeps. I knew it was time to leave. That night I used my stomachache as an excuse and poured all the vegetables in the backyard when my mother wasn't paying attention. I also put medicine in her food. When she fell asleep, I found the box lying under the bed full of gold. I stole a hand and left here resolutely. To avoid being caught, I cut my hair short and avoided all the stations. Following a large truck, we arrived at a city more than 1,000 kilometers away from my home. Afterwards, I lived my life carefully, afraid of being targeted. I first exchanged a small amount of gold, then rented a house and changed my appearance. Only when I put on expensive clothes can I dare to exchange for bigger gold. The days here are like heaven, where I can easily buy clothes that I've only seen on TV, expensive smartphones, and eyes that no longer look down on me. My younger brother's golden arm only cost 2 fingers, and the remaining money is enough for me to live a lifetime. I started planning to go abroad. Only in this way can my mother never find me for the rest of her life. The tuition for language classes is expensive. The level in our town is backward, and other courses also require one-on-one teaching. Not long after the rest of my brother's fingers were spent, I calmed down and calculated that in just 3 months, I had spent almost 200,000, and the money was indeed like flowing water. But before I could start being frugal, bigger trouble arose.